start of the season, one of the goals you laid out was hanging a banner. Although you lost in the semifinals, you still brought a banner home. How does it feel accomplishing one of your goals established at the start of the season?
Well, I should say I think, it's a big time accomplishment for our program. I mean, it still kind of hurts that the season, came to an end on Saturday. We definitely had expectations to try to advance to another round, but it's definitely a big deal. It's something that we haven't done. We haven't hung a banner in the football program since 2015. Haven't been to the semifinals since 2007. Have never been there in 7A. So it's a big accomplishment, a sense of pride. Really feel happy for our coaching staff, for our kids, and all the hard work they put in that started way back in January to put ourselves in the position to do that this year. It still kind of hurts. It's still kind of sad that the season's over, but really proud of everybody involved in our program. Players, coaches, families, FLIF, the community, school, everybody that's been involved and had a part in our success this year.
So, regardless of the failures, there's no successful Iron season we've had since 7. So, how do you reflect on the season as a whole?
I don't think I've gotten to that point yet to be able to reflect on the season as a whole, just because you're still kind of disappointed and sad and a little bit emotional about the end of the season. I think eventually, when we look back on it, it'll be a tremendous sense of pride. And all the things that we're able to accomplish this year to go undefeated, to win a Big 12 Conference Championship outright, to make it to the quarterfinals, to play in the semifinals, to hang a semifinal banner. A lot of awards for our kids in postseason has been really cool. I mean, it'll be a really something we look back on fondly. And I think it's been a historic year in our program and something that our players will be remembered and for a long time from now, hopefully.
We talked a lot about that 2005 to 2007 community football run this year. Community's freshman class wasn't even born in 2007. Almost half the teaching staff wasn't here then. What does it mean to think that this is a team people will be talking about for years to come, that the 2023 program is what people will think of when they think of Ironman football?
I think that's something that will be really cool and really neat to see because, like you said, people want to talk about 05, 06, 07. They were amazing years, amazing staff, amazing players, but a lot of people don't remember those teams. And to be a team that maybe the standard will be held to from here on out by staff, by faculty, by our coaches, by our players is something really unique, really cool, something that I feel privileged and blessed to be a part of. And hopefully it motivates our players to continue to work hard, to strive to that standard, or maybe one day even take the next step. And so, again, I just feel lucky and proud to be a part of such a historically successful football program and be part of one of the more successful teams that the school's ever had.
So last week, Downers Grove was able to score in all 3 phases of the game. Would you attribute that to just how talented the Trojans are, or some uncharacteristic Iron mistakes, or a mix of both?
I think it was a combination of both. We knew, BJ, that they were going to be really good in all 3 phases just by watching them on film and who they played throughout the year and who they played in the playoffs. I think they outplayed us in all 3 phases on offense, defense, and special teams. Some of that was due to us making mistakes, but when you make mistakes against really good teams, they're going to make you pay for what they did multiple times throughout the game, whether it was a breakdown of coverage or a wrong route or poor execution of a block or poor coverage on a kickoff. Those things get exposed when you play really good teams. As good as they were on film, I thought they were even more impressive in person. I don't know that I think they're 42-0 better than us. But definitely on Saturday they were much better, and the better team for sure won. But they handled it the right way. Their kids, the coaching staff is outstanding. They're well coached, they're well prepared. Their kids play hard. They execute their stuff at a high level, and that's a good recipe to be successful in the postseason. And it's a combination, and disappointed in the loss, but. Still, that doesn't change how I feel about our kids, our coaching staff, and our program.
Looking a little bit more into the game, the first drive was the Irons' most productive offensive drive with a 19-yard Davis run and a 21-yard scramble from Beatty. After that, Downers Grove had the Irons' number. What separated that drive from the rest?
Well, I think one thing in any football game, there's an adjustment period that both teams have to get used to defending or going against the other team's offense at full speed, because up to that point you've only seen, your scouts try to replicate. No matter how good your scouts do, they still can't replicate what your opponent does on offense and defense. I thought we executed really well early. It also helped that we had Marquand in the game at the time, and then they just really kind of settled in. Their front seven are outstanding. They're big, they're physical, they're aggressive, they run the ball well, and they just had our number throughout the game. And it was a big deal. It was a big deal losing Marquand after the first or second series of the game. I feel like that had a huge impact on what we were able to do offensively. But my hat's off to them. They played really well, and they basically controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball for the entire game. And, that's what you need to do to win football games, especially games in the postseason.
So when it became evident that the game was out of reach, the Ironman starters were standing on the sidelines supporting the second-string roster, not sitting on the benches. How does that speak to the character of the program?
Well, I think it speaks volumes about how you act when your teammates are playing, and it's something that we emphasize a lot throughout the year, because there are lots of times throughout the year where our starters were sitting out because we were ahead by so much, and we make a big deal and make it to be a priority that when you're playing the ones, our guys are up cheering, run pass ball calls into the game excited, so you have a responsibility to do exactly the same thing. And I was proud of our guys for that. If you're going to talk about being a family and being brothers and the brotherhood of your football program, then no matter who is playing, they're your family, they're your brothers, and you support them to the most. I was proud of our kids. It's definitely not an easy scenario to be in when you're down 35, 42 to nothing the postseason. Know your season's coming to the end, and for some guys, your career's coming to the end. But to be able to support your teammates is something I'm proud of. I think is very impressive and speaks to the character and the volume of our kids in our program.
Obviously, a season-ending loss is hard to stomach, but this season was one heck of an accomplishment. What was your message to the team in the end zone after the game?
Well, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think I said something to the effect that, it's okay to be emotional. It's okay for you to hurt. It's okay for you to cry, because when you're emotional and you have those feelings, that means you're a part of something that you care deeply about. And I know our players have put in a ton of work since the beginning of January. Number two, I kept telling them that I know it's going to sting today, but as the year goes on and as the weeks pass by and days pass by, that hurt will start to diminish. And then eventually you'll be able to look back with a tremendous sense of pride of all the different things that we were able to accomplish this year. And I think the third thing I hope I tried to convey is that we love them, we're proud of them, and just because the season's over, their career with us is over, doesn't mean that relationship ends between us. We hope it's a lifelong relationship between our players, and that we'll always be there for them whenever they need anything.
Among other accomplishments, Dexter Camp won Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He was an All-State qualifier. What do you have to say about his performance throughout the season?
I mean, I think all the accomplishments and accolades that he's gotten this year have been well deserved. I think he was the best defensive player by far in the conference. I think he's definitely worthy of an all-state selection. I believe he's that impactful and that good. But I think the more impressive thing about Dexter is, number one, is how he practices. The reason he has those accolades is because how he prepares himself during the week at practice, how he works in the weight room, how he plays other sports, and also based on what type of teammate he is. He's a great teammate. He doesn't say a lot. He just goes about his business, works hard, and when he says stuff, people listen. So he's a great football player, no doubt. But he's a better young man. He's a better teammate. He's a better practice player. When you do those things that way and you combine it with his talent, good things are going to come your way.
Looking on the offensive end, Tommy Davis was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year and an honorable mention for All-State as well. What do you have to say to him and his performance this year?
I mean, I think, again, I'm probably pretty biased. I think the two most dominant players in the conference were offensively were Tommy and Dexter. And Tommy had an outstanding year. He put up extremely good numbers, as did Dexter, only really playing a lot of games, only playing through halftime. Tommy's accolades and all his accomplishments here are due to his ability and how he trained and how he practiced this year. He was an outstanding practice player with great energy, took every rep 100% as hard as he could go. He played with a lot of energy and a passion and love for the game, and when you practice well, good things will find you on the field, which they did this year, and he's definitely deserving of the Offensive Player of the Year in the conference and an All-State honorable mention selection.
Can you speak to some some of the other Big 12 honorees and their contributions to the program?
Yeah, offensively, you know, Kyle Beatty, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the conference still as a junior. His ability to run our offense and do things was amazing and really impressive. Marquand Gary, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver in the conference, extremely dynamic as a junior and only going to get better. Our linemen that were all conference, Quinn Butler and Mac Brennan, were the stalwarts on our line, Quinn had to make every call, identify all our fronts, and Mac had to move positions a little bit. Alex Binion's maybe one of the best blocking tight ends that I've ever seen, that we've ever had here at Normal CUNY, and loved that aspect of his job. He loved to catch balls, no doubt, but he was a dominant blocker there. And defensively, Brady and Cooper, two of the best linebackers in the conference, no doubt. Again, great practice players, great leaders, captains, teammates. Aiden Boundy and Anton Cassell, great years at corner. Not only are they good coverage guys, but physical tacklers that can make plays in the run game. AJ Montoya was dominant as a nose. Caden Moss was second team, and that's only playing, 3.5 conference games, which is a credit to him. Blake Potts was just a stalwart on the back end doing his job time and time again. Marquand, I think he's still probably the best kick returner in the conference, but was second team. Braden Mazanowski and Reed Johnson were honorable mention on line as juniors. I think they're only going to get better, and I know they're going to continue to work hard. But there's also guys that weren't recognized for all conference that were extremely important in everything that we did. Keegan Buckner, Caden Hardiman, I'm going blank on names. Tyler Restemeyer, all sorts of guys that contributed and have been a big part of what we've been doing this year.
You mentioned a lot of juniors there as well as seniors, so the loss of graduates will leave some gaps. When do you start thinking about next season and who fills those gaps?
We probably won't start thinking about personnel and things like that till we get into the off season in the winter and start going to clinics and stuff like that in the winter and the spring. Right now, it's just more about wrapping up this year, feeling a sense of accomplishment, making sure there's not things that our players don't need and wrapping things up. But we know we have some huge shoes to fill of seniors that are graduating, and hopefully we'll have some juniors that will want to step up. We also have a decent amount of guys coming back next year that we're excited about, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it later in the winter or the spring. Now just trying to wrap yourself around emotionally the end of the season of a long run, and just the sense of overwhelming pride and blessings that we have to have the type of year that we've had and the success that we've had and the amazing young men we get to coach and spend our days with. So it's been a lot of fun, and I'm not really ready to put this season to bed yet. Eventually we'll get there.
So for 12 weeks, the Ironman defense was just outstanding, and a lot of those defensive players are seniors, as you mentioned. So what does this mean for you and the coaching staff as you start to think about next season?
Well, again, I don't think we're really not there yet to think about next season since, our season just ended, 4 days ago. We do have some juniors back that are going to be relied upon to be leaders, and we believe there's juniors and sophomores that can step up and fill those roles, but they've got to have a great winter. They've got to have a great spring, summer, and August practice to put themselves in a position to do those things. And when you feel like when you're a good program, which we feel like we have a very good program, a very successful program, typically you have younger guys ready to step up, and they've watched how those other guys have worked and gone about their business of preparation. Hopefully they emulate those things and raise their level of prep and taking care of their body and training. So more excited about our younger groups for sure, but you just don't know who will fill those spots yet. But hopefully we'll have some sophomores, juniors to be and seniors to be that will step up and fill them adequately or even tremendously.
Talking about people stepping up and new leaders, who are you looking to lead now heading into the grind of off-season conditioning?
Well, I think you look at all your juniors that played significant minutes for us, this past year. Defensively, our primary junior contributors were AJ Montoya and Jace Wilson. They got to be great leaders for us in the off season. We're going to rely upon them heavily to drive workouts and set the standard and the tone. Offensively, we got a lot of guys back. You got Kyle back, you got Kalen Taylor back, Marquand Gary, Ivo Austin, Alden Wagner, Reed Johnson, Braden Mazanowski, Gavin Sheeler, guys that really got to step up and be the primary driver in what we do. And they were great workers last year as to be juniors, and I would fully expect them to be great workers as they head into their senior year.